Hey, I just want to share some thoughts, man. And I'm honestly going to just try to get right into it. I do want to say that my name's Christian. I have traveled to many countries around the world and immersed myself in a lot of unpredictable, spontaneous experiences simply for the sake of personal growth and development. And now I find myself in a position where I'm taking those experiences that I've had and have allowed me to learn and to become more aware, and I'm looking at my future and I'm trying to juxtaposition these things in a way that makes sense for the path that I take going forward. I think that a lot of individuals are likely facing the same situation, and so I'm going to share my thoughts as I dive into them and hopefully help others explore their own thoughts and their own way of maneuvering through reality for the best potential outcome. Okay, so today I was sitting here and I was really kind of just like going through my thoughts, and I thought like, this might be a good time to turn this on and start to express some of this out loud. And where I was kind of breaking down this idea of the zero sum game, um, and how life, in essence, right? We do not win life by like how much you acquire or how much you accomplish even. And that can be argued based off of your beliefs, who you are, or what it is that you're fulfilled by. But personally, I try to break everything down to a very bare bones foundation and really just look at it in this black and white way, and then start to build up different beliefs and understandings that offer more fulfillment and lean more towards the personal, the subjective viewpoint. But I'd like to start out objective, bare bones, just like right at the foundation. We're not even pouring concrete. We're just like digging out the dirt. Okay. I think it was, who is it, Descartes? Is it Descartes or Kant? It might not be either. But one of the philosophers once said that like at certain points in your life, you have to burn everything to the ground and build from a foundation of which you know is true. And so I think I try to do that periodically. Back to like the concept of a zero sum game, there is no real mechanism to which you can win life. We are born with nothing, we die with nothing. We are born nameless, essentially, and we die perhaps with a name that others will remember. But as an individual, that name ceases to exist when we die and we lose our ability to process conscious experience. Now, of course, all right, and don't get me wrong, I lean this way as well, but there is still going to be this. There is the potentiality for an afterlife, and so in that potentiality, there are questions that I would have to ask myself, like, okay, does heaven exist? Does hell exist? Or variations of those things? And if they exist, like, how do my decisions throughout life affect my afterlife? Am I still conscious when I die, simply in another form? Do I have a life review? Things like this definitely could be questioned, but again, just trying to get to the like bare minimum, or that bare bones foundation. So in this, I'm going to negate any possibility of like afterlife. Not going to go into the concept of afterlife. I'm going to put that aside. That's another topic, conversation. And we're just going to say like what we can see and what we can perceive. So I know, for example, the people that I have witnessed pass away or lose their lives typically are in a sleep-like state. Their body is no longer functioning. They're no longer conscious or perceiving, or acting out through reality. So I can only assume, right, that this ceases to exist for them. The physical three-dimensional world no longer exists for those individuals, nor for myself once I die. So I should take that into heavy consideration when considering how to live my life. Okay. Which then brings to question, if there is no way to truly win, what game am I playing? How do I want to play the game? Right? I'm playing the game regardless. So we're playing the game of life. But how do I win the game? How do I play the game in my best interest? How do I get to a point where I can be satisfied or fulfilled, and whether or not that leaves any legacy after I die is irrelevant at the moment. But can I live and fully experience life in the moment and be satisfied during my life? And so then there's a few things that we have to break down. It's like, as an individual, one must come to the awareness of very clearly defining what they want. I recorded another video, I'm not sure if I ever put it out, but I talked about making a wish with the genie, and the genie says, well, you did wish for $1,000,000 as we are standing in a stampede of deer, implying that if one is not clear and extremely specific and precise with what they actually desire, they will always get this doctored version, this like misunderstanding, this misinterpreted manifestation of what they thought they desired. And so I'm trying to get very clear on what I desire. That's step one, I think, is become clear on the desired goal or outcome. Okay? Become clear on desire. A whole nother conversation on whether desire is even appropriate or not, because like there is a whole nother pathway in life where you could become, let's say, a Buddhist monk and relinquish all desire and all connection to the physical world as much as possible, and in that way like transcend samsara. A whole nother topic though. Just thought I'd drop that in there for folks that are going to nitpick everything I say and like, oh, well, you don't even have to have desire. I agree, but let's say I desire to have desires. So to become clear on the desire, I'm going to say, to speed things along, that my desire is novel experience. Essentially, my desire is to basically come up to the boundary of where my current knowledge and awareness sit, up to the boundary of where society sits as far as like what's possible, what are we capable of, what's allowed, what's not allowed. You know, where is the zeitgeist at on a philosophical, spiritual level, and then like also where is science, and what is science theorizing is possible or is valid, acceptable, and so I'd like to transcend. Maybe transcend is a bigger word than necessary. I'd like to push through those boundaries. I would like to challenge those boundaries, and I think for me, in my experiences so far, doing so has always led me to greater and greater experiences that I did not think were possible, because there was that boundary that had been set forth by the zeitgeist of the time, or like by previous generations and thought patterns passed down from family members or from teachers, peers, etc. So for me, very clearly, I know that I desire novel experience. I desire to be on the frontier of sorts. So I am in pursuit of that. How would I say this? I am in pursuit of a final frontier. Okay, and the goal is not necessarily to ever get there, but I think it's to always be in pursuit of it, because that allows me to grow as a person. It allows me to keep rolling into these new experiences, and I think ultimately I never really want to get to the final frontier. I just want to imagine one being out there and just keep working toward it. And I think someone to share that with. So not necessarily like romantic love, although of course I have that with my partner and I'm super appreciative of that and I value that. But I think what's even more important to me than romantic love is like shared experience, shared lived experience. And so when we say shared experience, I'm saying what's really important to me is having someone by my side that's willing to go through those transitions and go through the process of exploring these emerging frontiers and exploring the novelty of life, and going and really diving into whatever may come in a way as we grow as people and we transition, we change. I think that's it. I think that's really what I desire in the bare bones sense. Of course, then my ego starts to kick in. I'm like, yeah, but I also need the money to do that, right? Like I need the financial stability to be able to afford experiences like that. In theory, that's not true, and I think that'll have me actually pivot to point number two, or topic number two, which is we're all questioning what is necessary for this experience. Okay, what is necessary? So, if the desired experience is novel pursuit of a final frontier, shared experience with a partner, partners, friends, with other individuals, then what is necessary for that? So, of course, I have to have people to share that experience with. So, community, um, people and community to share those experiences with. Otherwise, we're missing a part. But that's simple. Okay, so just find like-minded people, community to share those experiences with. Could break that down further, like in what aspect am I interacting with those communities? Is that online? Is that in person? But we don't need to get tit for tat here. Like it's people and community, and then I have to have and then otherwise the ability to pursue those novel experiences, right? The ability, I guess, yes and no. Like physically, I'd like to be in a healthy enough and comfortable enough in my physical body to pursue those experiences, but then also I need to have the mental fortitude, well-being, and the will, right? So ability and mental, I'll just say will, but also you need like the fortitude to experience those things because it's not always going to be comfortable. Like there's going to be uncomfortable situations that come about. So that what's necessary is really simple, and that's interesting. And maybe we'll circle back to that. But you see how easy it is to define what's necessary once I was able to define a clear desire. So once I was able to say this is the goal, right? And it was really easy to see the path to get there. So in that though, like saying it's not always going to be comfortable becomes that transitions into like actually the most difficult part of it all, and that is identifying what is unnecessary. Okay, so step 3 is identifying what is unnecessary, or like what are the challenges. Am I the only person that always struggles to spell necessary and unnecessary? What is unnecessary? What are the challenges? Excuse me for a moment as I write this down. Because like I said before, I really was working through my own thoughts, and I was like, somebody else might really get some value out of this, so let me just create this or record this. And at the very least, it can be my diary for later. I'm not even sure it's still recording, but so what is unnecessary and what are the challenges? And this will likely be the final point. But then this is where it gets very tricky. And I think this is where I laugh to myself, because it does become very clear when you get down to this place of identifying like what could I let go of, what could I remove, throw away, in order to actually get to my desired goal faster, easier. It really does start to resemble a lot of the concepts that I see in like Buddhism, Hinduism, perhaps even Christianity, and in the way that they describe like being of the world or having this illusion world, and the cycles through which we go through and we experience this illusion world. And the illusion starts to become very clear, because if my desire is A, I realize that all that's necessary is like B and C. But then when you start to say what is unnecessary, you realize that you have the remainder of the alphabet hanging off of you in every which way. And to paint you a picture of that, so like let's say I want to have novel experiences, pursuit of a final frontier. I want to share those experiences with people and community. I simply really need the physical ability and the mental will to do so. And then of course people to share those experiences with. Unnecessary though, gets very strange because, like I said before, don't I need the money? My mind starts to say, like, don't I need money to have those experiences? Well, technically, no. Money was not in my what is necessary. Like, I could go and have those experiences and completely relinquish my attachment to money and financial gain, and I would still find myself, literally, by doing that, I would find myself at a frontier. I would find myself in a novel experience because I personally have always kind of held on to the attachment of financial gain or like financial stability and independence. Which is, it's funny. So earlier my mind started to kind of like break this down. Originally I was referencing that life is a zero-sum game. And I was thinking like that is funny because if you say, for example, I recognize that my desired outcome does not actually require money, although I'm just like really conditioned to abide the system of capitalism, then, and I look at that as a game, and I look at things like, oh, my employer is my boss, right? And in a game, or like a video game, for example, you typically go through a particular level. This level allows you to gain understanding, gain tactical experience, and strategy, develop your strategy, and then eventually you, as you're ready to ascend or transcend this level and to go to the next level, you're faced with a boss. And in order to defeat that level, you have to beat the boss, right? And so it's like, in a way, in order for me to go have these novel experiences in the pursuit of this final frontier with the people I share those experiences with, in order for me to have the desired outcome, I have to beat my boss. Quite literally, I have to, in a way, walk away from the teat of American capitalism that I keep running back to suck on because I'm so financially, I become insecure if I do not have financial independence and a reliable source of income that allows me to maintain my adventurous lifestyle. This might be a higher concept, but like that's where I really start to like, man, that's interesting. Because if we were in, let's say, an artificial reality, or if we were talking to a genie and wishing for $1,000,000, right? That's how the genie would confound things, is by, like, you wish for this novelty and you wish for this adventure, and then immediately you're faced with comfort, and you're faced with the illusion of security, like the idea of security, and you're faced with stability, but as you become more aware, as you start to transition through that level, you start to see like, oh wait, this comfort is an illusion, first of all, because it's relying on so many things that are like extremely fragile, they could fall apart at any moment. And it's also not really comfort, it's sacrifice for the idea, for this perceived comfort. It's sacrifice so that I don't actually have to address my fears. I can sit in this little bubble and I can pretend that I'm addressing my fears because I'm fighting these like really miniature enemies. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get this promotion. I'm kind of scared, but if I don't get it, I still got a job. Like, not really going out to that final frontier, not really fighting the novelty of like facing the zeitgeist and saying like, no, I believe this is possible and I'm going to rise up and become my own identity of what a superhero, a god, a man, a woman, they, them, he, she, it. Like, I am going to define myself and not be defined by the boundaries set forth before me. And so when you're in that experience, though, if you're not aware and the genie snaps his fingers and it wants to make your dream come true, right? You don't realize the actual novel experience, the actual desired experience is for you to transcend the comfort. It's for you to combat the comfort. So like you're in this artificial reality, okay? And you've been given all of this opportunity like, oh, make money. Once you're rich, you can go live life. And it's a total trap because what you're actually looking for, I'm sorry, I'm saying you, I'm talking to myself, but what you're actually looking for is the adventure, like is the experience of overcoming these things. And so it was built around you, right? And until you become brave enough, until I become brave enough to actually like step out of that and to really fight it and face it and to beat my boss, so to speak, then I don't know if I'm actually having my desired experience. I'm having maybe variations of it, but I have not really taken the leap into like, wow, this is all that I imagined. Huh. And then ultimately, what is holding me back from doing that? Because I know it's zero sum. Like, I know that no matter what, I lose everything, right? I'm not going to die and take anything with me. At most, I may be able to lie on my deathbed and look back on my life and say, it was worth it. Like, I did the thing. I did all the things. I am so grateful for this human experience. As opposed to perhaps lying on my deathbed and saying, if I had known, I would have made more use of my time, better use of my time. I would have done the thing. I would have done all the things, right? So it can, I mean, I guess that's pretty much what it comes down to. Is like, it can either be I would have done or I did. And I guess I would rather it be I did. But I did is scary as hell, because before you can get to I did, you must do. And in order for me to do, there's a lot of things that I really have to look at myself and I have to challenge. Like, we're potentially talking about walking away from from consistent employment, from $100,000 a year or more, like from buying a house, from having a traditional family. Like, there's so many of these ideas that have kind of been layered out. Wow, it's starting to make sense too when I say it out loud. Because there are these ideas that have been laid out before me that are like, buy a house, have a family. But those are still that perceived comfort and that perceived success that is laid forth by the zeitgeist. And if I were to, like, if I took my consciousness, put it in a video game or a simulated experience, and my desire was, I want to have a novel experience and I want to pursue a constant developing final frontier and share it with a partner. If that was what I typed into the prompt and was like, okay, create me this experience, then the AI, the developer of this game, would put me in just this situation to be faced with things like, oh, but what if I never buy a house? What if I'm not like everybody else? What if I don't get to settle down and be comfortable? That's the point. The point is to face that and to realize that that is not my identity and that is not who I am, and those are not the things that satisfy me. That's not my desired outcome, and to quit being so confused and so compelled to go towards these things because other people are like, oh, that's the right thing to do. Like, those other people are the obstacles in the game. Those other thought forms, or like patterns of lifestyle, are that is what you must overcome in the game in order to have your desired experience. So I guess I'm answering my question in a way. It's like, when it really comes down to it, I know what I want. And if I know what I want and I understand what's necessary, then everything that is outside of that bubble is ultimately unnecessary, and I can partake in it if I wish to, but it's either A, going to just slow down my development toward the thing that I really want, or B, it may even deter me from getting what I really want. I guess ultimately I'll just keep learning and growing, and in that way I'll still be getting closer to the desired outcome. But yeah, I really appreciate you sitting with me and breaking these thoughts down. If you enjoy this at all, go ahead and follow whatever platform this is. I'm really just expressing my thoughts now. I'm not even sure if I'm going to release this at any point. If I happen to release it and you joined me, you made it to this point, I think we've got a connection. You can become a part of the community. Go ahead and join us, join me, and let's have more talks like this. Feel free to send me a message or leave a comment, and maybe you've got some ideas that we should explore a little deeper.